Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Morgan James book launch. My name's Jim Howard. I'm the publisher for Morgan James. And today I'm excited because we've got another amazing author to introduce you to. Today we're talking with Mike Kim. And Mike is the author of You Are the Brand, the 8-step blueprint to showcase your unique expertise and build a highly profitable and personally fulfilling business. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Jim, it's great to be here with you. And to those tuning in, it is an honor to have you here. Hope to add some value to everyone today.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you will. So, you are the brand, right? This is just such a great book. And I kind of want to jump into it with just kind of getting into how you do this, right? How do you help brands or businesses or leaders, really maybe find clarity in what they say in their messaging?
Well, this is sort of a meta thing, right, Jim? Because I'm an author, and you're my publisher, and we have authors who are probably tuning in who are interested in writing a book or writing another book. And what's taken place in the world clearly over the last couple of years, especially in the last 2 years or so, is the emergence of the personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like this term is now being used everywhere, including corporate America.
Sure.
And it's no secret that for a while there are folks who have been out there making six figures, seven figures, or even more a year based on their ideas, their expertise, their reputation, and their personality. But the big question mark is, how do they do that? And how do they do it year after year? Because for so many of us, just by virtue of being human, uh, our ideas, our expertise, our passions, our desires, our wants, they're very fluid. And these are very intangible things. And then trying to build something tangible around it, i.e., a business, can be very challenging. And that's why I wrote this book. It's to really help nail down the jello and build a structure around something as fluid as our ideas, our experiences, our thoughts, and build a business around it. And really, the way that I do that is I ask a lot of questions.
Mm.
Probably the most basic questions I start with are what I call the PB3. I call them the personal brand three. And these questions are: what ticks you off, what breaks your heart, and what's the big problem you're trying to solve? Because so many of us have had that muscle of self expression atrophy over the years. I've worked in corporate America. I get it. You know, you're not allowed to say certain things, or you got to watch what you do and watch what you say. And now people say, oh, well, I want to write a book, or I want to do a keynote, or I want to launch a podcast. And it's hard to sell something when you don't have anything to say. And so that's
Mm.
really where we start.
Wow, that is so cool. And I think, as you mentioned, the last couple of years definitely been more prominent. This has been building for some time. And in today's world, we all have a personal brand. And I love that you introduced and included even in corporate America, right? Corporate America is now taking a more micro look, or I guess, or look on a micro plane at individual brands and themselves as brands, and not just the companies, but even what kind of personalities, what kind of messaging are we promoting inside and within. So that is anyone watching this today. Mike mentioned it right up front. If you're an author, soon to be author, published author, you need to start thinking in terms of a brand. And if you don't know what that is, or you don't really understand what that means, or you even think maybe you understand, you should probably get a copy of You Are the Brand, and Mike will explain it for you. Um, so Mike, what maybe are some of the first steps that someone building a brand identity should take, right? Because I know there's a lot of ways to looking at it and building a brand, and so many times you often see people just kind of have an idea and just run with it, see if it works, and oh well, that didn't work, let's shift directions. But it's not that easy. Is there an order? Is there a process? What should people be thinking about first?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mentioned just a few moments ago, we start with those questions,
Mm,
and that's really step one in my blueprint. I call it the point of view. You establish a point of view. It's really hard to stand out in today's market if you don't stand for something.
mm,
And so, step one is really the point of view. Step two is using personal stories to get your ideas out into the market. The one thing no one can compete with me on is my past. and is how I got to where I got,
Yeah.
right, in life. And so I know that sometimes people often have these like knee jerk reactions to hearing someone say, write your story or tell your story. It sounds like I'm saying, write your life story. And I promise you, that's not the case. When it comes to branding and marketing, you need three stories you need to be able to tell at the drop of a hat: your founder story, your company story, and your customer story,
Mhm.
right? And these stories are actually fueled by the answers to those questions I just shared. What pisses you off? What breaks your heart? What's the big problem you're trying to solve? If you really think about a lot of the experts who we follow, whether they are in entertainment, whether they're athletes, whether they're personal development gurus, you name it, we know their backstory, even superheroes. It's really important that we understand that Batman came from, he was orphaned because his parents were murdered in Crime Alley, right?
Right.
Like, why do we need to understand that? Because the idea that someone just running around, a rich guy running around in a costume beating up criminals, wouldn't make sense otherwise. It kind of doesn't make sense either way. But my point is that there's context for the content. So when we hear Tony Robbins speak after 40 years of him being on the circuit, he still tells the story of how he was poor during Thanksgiving and he had no food.
Yeah.
He still tells that story because those stories are what connect us to people. Our stories are what make us who we are,
Mm.
right? So that's really step two, and then I go a little bit more in depth in this, of course, in the book. But step three is a platform. You share these stories somewhere. Step four is your positioning. How do you want to position yourself relative to the competition that's out there? There is
Mm.
competition. Um, and then you go on and on and on. You create products. Step five, step six, you figure out how to price the products. Step seven, how do you pitch them? And then step eight, how do you find partners to help you? And you can see I'm an alliteration guy. It's all P's, right? But that's really the blueprint because the more we're trying to build something out of jello,
Mhm.
if you will, the more concrete the supporting things must be.
Mm.
And that's why I wrote this book. It's not a book about image or branding per se. It's a business book to help you build an actual business, make money, make an impact around something as fluid as your ideas. And if you do that well, the reward is that you will have people follow you into any new initiative that you want.
Yeah.
And not to belabor the point, but just one example I have in the book is The Rock. Most people know him as one of today's biggest action movie stars, right? Now, I followed The Rock since I was in college. Back then, he was a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Before then, he tried to make the NFL and didn't make it. So you talk about somebody who we look at today and we say he can do whatever he wants. But that's not the path he followed. The path
Yeah.
he followed was he built a brand. He got really good and focused on doing one thing, wrestling, became one of the best of all time, had a number of people follow him to the movie theater. Not everybody did. A lot of people thought he sold out when he became an actor. But my point is, he was able to do that, and it took a long, long time.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about branding, it's just about that identity, the identity that we occupy in people's minds.
Outstanding. Outstanding. And you mentioned something there that I think is very important. I kind of want to come back and touch on, and that is through your order. You talked about getting to the point that you have to have something to offer and building a project or building a program, and then pricing. Pricing is one area that I see a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners really struggle with, especially in the beginning, right? Because they're always looking at other people and they're saying, okay, well, that's what they price, so maybe I should price at that. Or and it's a little bit more in depth in figuring out what you should price, what you offer, right? How you get that offering. So how would you help coaches or freelancers price their projects, like price out what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna be self-aggrandizing for a moment. That chapter alone in the book is worth the $20,
Yeah.
because so many people struggle with pricing. So two really quick things. Number one, you start with what I call the what is your traffic from hell hourly price. And I grew up just outside New York City. I went into in the city all the time. From New Jersey, and I tell you what, Jim, like the George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, They're not just ways to get in and out of New York City. It's where hopes and dreams go to die,
Yeah,
because
been
you are
there.
just in. It doesn't move, right? And if I called you from the middle of Manhattan and I said, "Hey, I've got a check for you, but you have to drive through 30 minutes of the worst traffic coming into the city and then 30 minutes of the worst traffic going back over the bridge or the tunnel," how much would that check need to be? $50, 100, 500, 1,000, $5,000? It's going to be different for everybody,
Yeah.
especially at different stages in your business, right? But you want to start there, and I don't mean that that should become your hourly price, because I don't necessarily believe every contractor out there or freelancer should charge hourly. I get into that in the book, but you need a baseline. You need some semblance of an idea of what your time is worth. So I start there. Then, and we have a diagram of this in the book. I use this 9-box grid to price every project. And on one side of the grid, I write the level of service, my involvement. Is
Mm.
it like, minimal involvement? Is it standard involvement? Or am I basically doing everything? Then across the top of the grid, I have 3 different levels of pricing. What's the minimum I would do this for? What is the regular amount I would do this for? And what's the windfall amount? And here's the key: if you don't set a windfall number, you're never going to win a windfall contract.
Mm.
There have been 2 times in my career that I've landed a 6-figure contract. I mean, they paid in full up front. And what's funny is that once you start, and I don't say that to brag, I say that to first show people what's possible if you're very intentional about how you build your business. But secondly, to show that I was able to pick that number that I pitched, that I proposed to the client, because I thought out the pricing.
Hmm.
So I looked at that, Jim, and I said, this project is going to involve my highest level of engagement, but I can still have 3 prices. What's the minimum I would do this for? What's the regular amount I would do this for? What's the windfall amount I would do this for? And believe it or not, that was the minimum amount I would do the project for. So once you see these numbers in this 9-box grid and you fill it out, you're going to notice discrepancies in yourself
Mm.
and how you're pricing different things that you're offering. You're going to quickly realize, oh my gosh, I am charging the minimum amount for my highest level of engagement with the worst possible client. No wonder I'm miserable. So I tell you, that chapter alone, I believe it's chapter 8,
Yeah.
is worth the $20 for the book, because it will really unpack this for you. If you make a habit of doing this, you will be able to head into projects with so much more confidence and know that you have priced and thought things through in an intentional manner.
Yeah, there's something that I noticed years ago, and working with clients, that you always have clients who, when they get to that point, right, they're selling themselves, they're selling their service, they're selling their products, and then they get to that point where it's time to ask for the money, and all of a sudden it's like pull back and sink in, and you lose that confidence, and it's because they haven't thought fully through what the actual value that they're proposing is, and seeing what that's worth. And that's what your system actually does. It allows you, as the reader, it allows you to look at what you're offering and put a real true value, one that you can believe. And when you believe it, you can sell that with more confidence. And believe it or not, it's not the price that usually sells a product or service. It's the confidence in which you approach it, and how much you can share with that person who you're asking to buy it, to say, hey, I know I'm asking a lot, but believe me, what I'm offering is way more valuable than the ask. And if you can get that across alone, you're going to just completely change your business and your outlook. So Mike, that's just absolutely brilliant. And I just want to say, I've been in branding for a long time, 30 plus years in positioning and branding and commercial print. But Mike, your book is for today's world, for the people watching right now. It's one of the best, most comprehensive books that I've seen, in the way that you approach the topic and the way you grab the reader's attention and actually walk them through how they can get a deeper understanding of to build their brand in today's world. I don't think there's a better book out there on the topic. You did so well with this one. I'm proud to have it, and very thankful that we were able to partner with you on this one.
Well, thank you. That means a ton. And I believe in the message. I believe in people. I believe the world is a better place when more of us do work that we love and actually believe in.
Yeah.
And for the small sliver of the population that wants to do that through sharing their ideas, their expertise, their personality, that's why I wrote this book. So I hope you pick up a copy.
Yeah, beautiful. And You Are the Brand is available everywhere books are sold. So I encourage you, grab a copy of the book. It's going to change the way you look at, even if you know, like we said in the beginning, even if you know what branding is, you've been in business for a long time, it's time to take a fresh look. It's time to look at it just a little different and see if you can go a little bit deeper in the way that you approach building, introducing, and then maintaining that brand. It's a whole new world out here the last couple of years, and Mike is on the forefront of the information that's going to let you just kind of explore that and explode it into the kind of business that you want to grow. So I encourage all of you to take advantage of this opportunity now. Grab a copy of the book. And Mike, I know people are going to watch this and they're going to want to know more. I don't see how they couldn't, especially with the audience that will see this. What's the best way for them to connect with you to find out more about what you're doing?
The best place, if you're watching and hearing Jim and I talk, the best place to go is my podcast. It's called the Brand You Podcast. Um, all I do every episode is talk about how to build an expert business,
Mm.
built around your personal brand. So that's the best place to start if you like consuming content this way. If you're on social media, Instagram is my favorite platform. I'm always sharing tips there, videos from my YouTube channel and all that. But that's really kind of like the social media channel to start, and then you can kind of off ramp into other places. And of course, pick up a copy of the book. I really believe in the message, and I think that it'll help you, regardless of where you are in your journey.
Yeah, we believe in it as well. So, Mike, thank you, one, for taking your time and expertise to write the book. You know, a lot of people say, one day I'll write a book, but very few actually do. And the ones that do almost never follow through to get it published and to get it presented the way this one is. So, yeah, I'm so thankful that you took the time to write the book. And thank you for coming on today and talk with us and spending some time sharing your knowledge on branding.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching as well. I do hope you grab a copy of this book. It's going to change the way that you look at building your business and building your brand moving forward. And we hope to see you on our next one.